Hello, today I'm going to show you how I installed this 1080p high definition camera onto the front of my 2017 Smart 42 453 electric drive. It's a very wet day here in Georgia. Had to pull my car inside. It's not too cold today. So I'm gonna open up that hood and see where I can install this camera. My goal is to install it right here in the center, but I might have to get another piece to back up the bolts inside to keep it in place. I'll play that by ear. We'll start by opening up the hood, or the bonnet as some people call it. Pull those two levers and just slide this forward. There we go. So the odd part is gonna be probably running the wires from underneath here across. But I should have a way of getting into the interior down beneath here like I did before on another installation. When you're doing this kind of work, it's good to have a set of trim tools so you can get into the panels and behind the stereo. For the sake of testing out this camera before I installed it, I did a temporary connection to the positive and negative side of the battery. So powering the camera, I took this adapter that's made to plug into the input to the camera, and I just temporarily, just to check it, put the red wire to the positive and the black wire on the negative. Nothing permanent, just very temporary until I can hook this up. Then I took the video cable from the camera that I hooked up to the camera, and I'm gonna plug it into the camera input. So I'm gonna take this cord here from my power leads and plug it into the camera right there. And now on to hooking it up to the stereo head unit. Okay, the first thing you want to do is remove this bezel around the stereo, prying into the little corners here, and twist and come up. Do them a little bit at a time. See, got that one. Please pardon this portion of the video. I was having technical issues. I lost one of my cameras that was doing the audio, so I had to forced to go to one camera, but I'll keep as much detail in it as I can. Right now, I undid all the snaps that holds the camera, the head unit in. One of them came off to the left side, and so I had to find on the floor the one that came loose so I can, when I'm ready to put it back in. Okay, I found the one that I dropped, but realized I needed another one. If you guys know where I can find these new body clips that hold this thing in, let me know. Thank you. Okay, all we need here is this video connection here that once I run the wires through, we'll connect it to this video. That connector there is to the backup camera, which is all controlled by this head unit. One thing that I found out was there is a power for the camera, but it's for the backup camera, and we only power it when it's in backup. So I will do a more permanent connection for the camera on the battery for now, but later I will find a switchable source for the camera because I don't want it powered all the time. Here's the very long video connector that I need to run from the camera to the head unit. So I'm going to take this wire and do a temporary connection to this video input so I can run it out to the camera. So when I hook up everything, I'll make sure that it works before I do permanent installations. Just letting you know, at the end of the video cable, you have these yellow wires. Don't worry about those wires. You won't be using them in this application. Because this is a custom installation, I need to figure out how to send the signal from the camera to the head unit. Okay, it took me a minute to figure out how I was going to use that camera. Now to use it, I realized when you're coming up on something you need to see, all you have to do is press the apps button, auxiliary, and there you have it. So it worked. The only problem I've seen is that the way the camera is shaped, I'm gonna have to do something to angle the camera down. As you can see, it's got a pretty wide view on it. This is all the way to the right side of my garage. And that's all the way, this is all the way to the right, I'm sorry. And that's all the way to the left. I gotta see if I can figure out a way to reverse those images and or invert it. That way I can mount the camera where I want it to without having to fight with it later. But no, that's nice and clear. I think that's clearer than my rear view camera. Let's see if I can get that to happen again. Let's see here. See? Automatically switches to the rear view camera. And right now the rear door is down, so it's looking at the driveway. Let me see if it'll do it while it's in reverse. Even though I don't see a reason to do it while it's in reverse. No, so while it's in reverse, it's gonna stay in the reverse camera. But then when you go and put it back in drive, you're moving forward that you need to see, there your image is. So that's really nice camera, y'all. That's nice and clear. That's almost as clear as it is on my Chevrolet Bolt. Before I figure out a permanent solution to installing this, I want to point out something I was surprised to find. The correct time of day is actually shows up on that camera. I don't know how that works, but the stereo unit is so efficient that it actually sends that information to that camera. Thing to keep in mind on this is the round part of this camera is actually the bottom. So it's the down portion. So you have to make sure you install this with the right orientation. And I also discovered that this camera lens rotates. So I had to push it all the way down to see what I wanted to see. Keep that in mind. So now we can go ahead and do an install. I'm gonna go ahead and do it where the camera is always powered, because I realized that the camera input, the power for the camera on the radio would actually activate it only in reverse, and that would do me no good. I think this is the ideal location to put this camera. If you didn't notice it, if I didn't show you it was there, you probably wouldn't notice it. So get a little gap in there, but it's not gonna be anything. You secure this down. It's gonna be up against the emblem a little bit. It's gonna match just fine. But in order for me to get that in there successfully, I'm gonna have to take this cover off. So more than likely, I'm gonna have to remove these 6 screws across the top. These don't have to come off. And there's the attachments down there on both ends. So let's try that, and we'll see what happens. As you can see, I'm removing those screws I mentioned. Those can stay in the straps. Remember, my screws are kind of coated from my battery leaks some time ago, but they're not hard to come out. You just have to use the right star connection here. Pull that out. I should be able to lift this whole thing, but I need to get these screws out, I believe. Yeah, see, that's loose. That's loose. So that will come up. So it looks like the only thing I have to release There's a brace right here. That's gonna be in the way probably. Oh, wait, it lifts up. No, so I can pull that out of there and pull those connectors out. So I should be able to lift this thing up, but to get it out of the way, I think I need to take that front piece off there to make sure that I'm not fighting with this thing as I'm doing everything else. So I discovered those fasteners are some kind of weird fastener I've never seen before. So without having to take off the bumper, what I'm gonna do, I lifted these things over the fasteners. Make sure you don't lose this bracket thing here. It goes into a certain slot right here. Sure it later. But anyway, so I can put a nut on the back of for the camera. I might have to feel for it. We'll see how it goes. Since I couldn't take this off, what I did was I went ahead and pushed this through the front. That fits the hole just fine. Remember, the round part is the bottom. And then what I was able to do, once I done that, pull this back down. I lifted this up. I can see the wire coming through the frame of the grill. So I use a coat hanger to fish down and pull this wire up. So all I gotta do now is put the nut and bolt on it, and I can reach down there with my hand and feel and tighten it down. And that's what I'm gonna do next. The kit came with this nut and lock washer that I'm gonna thread down onto this wire and attach it to the back of the camera from inside the grill. So this is how I'm doing this. I'm gonna move these down beyond that little wire opening there and put it on to the connector on the back of the camera. You can see the emblem right there. There's the bolt right beneath there, and the camera coming through. There's the wire. You can barely see it from this angle. That's where I mounted it. This is where the smart car emblem comes in and it's attached to the front. And this is where the camera is attached and the wire comes through and the nut and bolt is now attached. Now all we got to do is put this back together. Make sure we're in the wire in place so it won't get stuck. And put this brace back in right below here. It goes in something like this. But it's on top of this thing once you get it over. I'll show you two in a minute. This is where the brace goes in there. Shoves right next to the switch and goes right down there on top of this piece here. So that's the one thing you need to remember on that. What I do now is let down these bolts. Most certain order they need to be. Very good. Put the straps here. Make sure you're not cross-threading anything. Make sure you don't drop any tools, y'all. Especially behind that panel right there we just put back on. So it's hard to get to. Note where I have my wire coming out. I have it coming out right here next to this bolt here. I'm gonna move that over a little bit. Then I can hook the other thing up so it'll be nearer to the battery side when I hook the power up for the camera. Okay, now you can see I hooked up the power to the connector, to the positive and negative on the battery. I'm gonna screw these down. I got them going back over here. And this is the connector. And all I gotta do is hook up the video feed to the camera, the power feed rather, with that let right there. Then run it over here, and I'll hook up the video in a minute. Before I run this cable through the wall, let's make sure everything is still working. There, so the power's hooked up. So all I'm gonna do disconnect this video feed here. Kind of hard to do with one hand. We'll hook these two up. There, it's hooked up. I'm gonna make sure it works before we run all through. There's not much to do in here other than making sure your video connector is connected. I run the cables through to the bottom, through here. You probably can see that, and then it's connected again. So what I gotta do, put the face back on. I need to replace one of these things here, fasteners. Those things are hard to come by, but I get it done. There, I put the face back on, looking good, and shows my doors are open. All I gotta do is press home, then choose apps and auxiliary. There's my front view, y'all. I'll show you it in action later on, but right now, that's good. Nice and clear. I have to level it just a little bit too, but hey, look at there. Now that I know everything works, it's time for me to clean up this bay, put the wires in more permanent location, and just make it look good in here. And you can see the bay's all cleaned up. Gotta cut those little strips off there. I ran up behind these components, and the excess wire I just put in that bundle there because that frame in there. And as you can see, it went through down there, but the other cords go through. I have to put some sealant on the other side later. Instead of cluttering the interior of the car with these wires, I put them out here where anyone working on a car can see auxiliary wires running through. There you have it. Looks almost as if it belongs there. I'll give it a test when I come back from my trip. Just giving you a stationary view of the camera as right below that emblem there, and like I said, it looks almost as if it belongs there. Now I'm taking my car to where I normally park it in the back, and all I gotta do is, I have to park really close to that door right there, or sometime behind my other car. So I hit home, apps, auxiliary. There's my front view. So I'm gonna ease up on it. That way I can see how close I can go. I gotta see about how to reverse that image. Let's see, closer, closer. That's as close as I need to go. But now I can see the doors now. Right now I can see over the hood, but not everything I need to see. But right now, I can see more than I was able to see before. That's good. It's gonna work out. And even when I put it in park, because I have it on auxiliary, it doesn't stop like what the reverse would do. But now, if I were to put it in reverse, it'll clear that screen. Watch this. See? There's reverse. If I go back, it's gonna be right back to where it was. This is great, y'all. You might want to try it. Thanks for watching.